On October 6th, Mike tried to attend the district court trial in Rockingham County. The sheriff deputies physically blocked Mike from entering the courthouse and refused to discuss with Mike their reasons. Minutes later, the deputies kidnapped Mike on the courthouse steps by order of Judge James Grogan. They took Mike to jail and booked him in with a staggering ransom of $50,000 cash-only bond requirement. The next day, they transferred Mike to a maximum security prison in Raleigh, North Carolina, where they locked Mike in an isolation cell for 10 days.
The following are journal entries Mike wrote down while caged in a maximum security prison.
Tuesday, October 6th. Deputies Doom, Long, Moore, Gibbs, and Captain Bullens physically blocked my access to the Rockingham County Courthouse. They didn't articulate a reason why, nor would they discuss with me. They didn't check if I was complying with the illegal judge's order. The FTA warrant was issued by a different judge, Judge James Tony Grogan. They said he didn't sign the warrant, just printed sig. Box. Lawrence was the magistrate. He seemed hesitant. They threw me in an isolation cell with a bright light that made a high-pitched noise. They refused to move me to darker cell, but confirmed they have one. Intake nurse Shirley was professional, and I think she wrote down my migraine triggers: food, light, smells, noise, as well as how migraines leave me unable to move or speak. As a few hours passed, my head pain was climbing dangerously high, so I asked for nurse, earplugs, the light to be turned off, or to move me to a darker cell. The guard sergeant, Brown, refused. Migraine hit Tuesday evening and lasted until Thursday morning. They refused to give me safe food and drink, and wouldn't check allergy list. I never refused to eat or drink. I made a disability access request for sealed food and drink with ingredients list, and for an OCR device to read the ingredients. They refused. Wednesday, October 7th in the afternoon. They provided a power aid, but I was barely able to move, so I could only drink a few sips. They offered me what they said was peanut butter in a sealed package, and Lieutenant Stokes read the ingredients. This is after first appearance video court where Stokes lied to the judge. Stokes said the nurse evaluated me, and she said I was fine, and that I refused to sit up. This is all false. The only access to a nurse was at the intake until after court. I physically couldn't sit up, and when he knew nurse came after court, she refused to evaluate me because she said she could only evaluate me if I was seated. Guards removed my plastic bed I was under using as a shield from light. I didn't trust Stokes reading the peanut butter as he lied to the judge hours before. I asked, "Well," muttered nurse, and she mocked me when I asked her to check my allergy list. Wednesday afternoon, October 7th. When I could barely drink and didn't trust the food, they claimed I was on a hunger strike. They told me they were taking me to a doctor to get checked out. They helped me into a wheelchair and into a car, which exacerbated my condition and made it so I couldn't move or speak. They stopped car an hour in to check on me, but they didn't check vitals. I was able to move a finger to let them know I could hear them. We arrived at an unknown location about 40 minutes later and waited until about 3 p.m. before they let us in. They transferred me to a wheelchair and handed me off. An unknown man pushed the wheelchair and dragged my feet under the chair and wheel. He ran my head into a holding cell doorway. They gave me different clothes. About 15 minutes later, I struggled to put them on. They took my hat, then wheeled me to urgent care. They tossed me into a bed, and I waited for a few hours for someone to talk to or assess me. People were mockingly using my cane. A man who didn't identify gave me a PPD shot in my left arm. I gestured to be able to write. He eventually got me pen and paper, and I found out he was a nurse. I tried to communicate my conditions, allergies, and triggers. Dr. Ahmed did some evals and shined light in my eyes. They put me in a wheelchair and wheeled me to a holding cell. I asked the nurse for water several times. He said he would get it, but never did. They wheeled me to the isolation cell I'm in now, 1206, mental health. They stripped me naked, put a suicide smock canvas with Velcro on me, and helped me onto a mattress without bedding. I gestured for water to several people, but no water came. Early Thursday morning, I fumbled around the cell. They left the light on for hours Wednesday night. I found a metal toilet and sink and lapped water out like a dog. Migraine had passed, and hydration was priority. I asked my captors for water, and they each said some was coming. A few hours later, breakfast came with, finally, water and juice that I drank. I asked if the food was screened against my allergen list. They said no. Nurse Carter wrote down my allergen list. Lunch came hours later with same results. I spoke with Dr. Stahl and social worker Yenkelun and found out I'm in central prison. They confirmed I'm not suicidal, and I told them I was being held illegally and the details. I asked if they honored patient rights. They said yes. I asked to be able to take notes of our conversations, and they refused, citing policy. I made a disability access request for audio recorder, but they denied. I informed them I would continue to talk to them, but it was under duress. I asked to speak with my lawyer and wife, but they refused. I made disability access request for wife to help with answering questions, and they refused. I asked for my hat back, and they said they put a medical order in for its return. Later I spoke with case manager McNally and relayed some info and disability access requests. She filled out disability access form and said it may take a month. I relayed some info to wife via McNally. I spoke with Dr. Townsend psychology and relayed my condition and that I was being held illegally. I used the term kidnapping, and he threw out the term delusions. I told all of them they can verify via YouTube. Thursday, October 7th. Night shift turned on my cell light a couple times. Friday morning, I ate some hard-boiled eggs and oatmeal. McNally relayed info from wife. I ate greens at lunch. Dr. Townsend verified I'm not suicidal. I asked for clothes and he approved and relayed it. I spoke to Yenkelun and McNally together and relayed concerns of my illegal imprisonment and the inhumane treatment. Staff leaves my light on sometimes for up to an hour. I can't get staff attention for help with light or other needs. Other prisoners try to get attention of staff and end up banging and screaming for help for tens of minutes. Then when staff comes, they tell them they can't help until they behave. They gave me clothes Friday, October 8th evening. More cell light turned on Friday night. Saturday morning and afternoon. 8 full meals Saturday, breakfast and lunch. Took a shower Saturday, October 9th morning and had sheets in cell upon return. Spoke to nurse and Townsend after lunch about lights and illegal imprisonment. I asked Townsend for paper and pen and have been writing since, though I can't read it myself. Dietitian came Friday to get allergy list. She didn't seem to have knowledge about migraine. Triggers. She said she put in for no meat, but wanted to give me dairy with Lactaid. Ate all 3 meals Saturday and Sunday, though half came without drinks. I've been building rapport with staff by telling jokes and riddles. They're warming a little but remain apathetic and callous. Some yell, swear at, and even call other captives the N-word. They keep turning my light on 2 to 4 times a day. It takes up to an hour to get them to turn it off. Dr. Townsend said Saturday that the intercom is working, but Vincent said otherwise on Sunday. I wrote an essay on dilution today Sunday to give to Townsend, but he skipped my cell. Maybe tomorrow? Social worker name is Yenkelun. Caseworker is McNally. Psych are Drs. Struhl, Townsend, and Baker. Baker was 11 hotel in the Army. He filled out proper request and said they'd discharge me from mental health. Yenkelun explained different roles and had just doing my job excuses. She said recording devices aren't allowed at all here in this maximum security prison. Thursday, October 8th, Night shift tried giving me cholesterol meds, but wouldn't explain why, nor would they answer my questions. They passed on that I refused to take my meds. I confirmed with Nurse Friday that it wasn't my meds. In court hearing, district attorney lied about me, claiming they asked for continuance and said I was a problem for the courts to be open. District attorney claimed. Graham agreed Tuesday that Mr. Nelson refuses to enter. I hope Nina will get me out today. This place is insane. They don't know how to help because they don't want to know. They didn't bring me breakfast Monday, October 11th. McNally came around 9 a.m. after talking with Nina. She said Nina was crying and concerned for my safety. She relayed that Nina has been calling the Attorney General and code words from our daughter. She asked for a code word back to confirm for Nina that McNally is talking to me. I gave her one, along with a front and back page of notes for Nina, and vocalized to tell her to get me out that day. McNally said she would relay and be back in 1 to 2 hours. I think it's near 4 p.m. Tuesday, October 12h, and McNally hasn't returned. I also gave McNally a list of questions issues for her and Yenkelin to work on. Yenkelin came hours later with an attitude and said they're all human, and she empathized with me. Then she said it wouldn't be ethical to pass notes between me and Nina. I doubt she will be helpful to me. Maybe she's stopped McNally from assisting me too. I ate lunch and dinner Monday, then talked with Townsend a while and expressed my disappointment with the lies of the day. It's nearly 4 p.m. Tuesday, October 12th, and I haven't heard word from anyone except Townsend today. Last night they tried giving me a statin cholesterol med again. I asked questions, and they said it was ordered by Dr. Ahmed. I ate breakfast and lunch and had a shower this morning, but wasn't given fresh clothes, though. I asked. No toothbrush or hat yet either. Just ate dinner. They only give us 3 to 4 minutes to eat meals, which is not enough time to properly chew the food, Townsend said after they discharge me out of mental health. They can move me to safe housing, which is the status code for people awaiting trial, not yet convicted. He said he thinks they get phone access there. I asked the nurses this morning during temp check and vitals for the status of my COVID test. They said they'd check, but haven't come back to tell me. They have a 14-day quarantine here, but if the test is negative, then they have no medical reason to keep me in this tiny isolation cell. I asked Townsend to get McNally to see me for a toothbrush and again for my hat returned to me. He said he'd work on it. Tuesday, October 13th. The night nurse tried giving me a cholesterol med. I said I wanted to speak to a doctor about it before taking any meds. Wednesday, October 14th. Breakfast didn't come with a drink. They turned and left my light on for 30 minutes. Then when they turned it off, it was stuck partially on. C.O. Grantham walked me to diagnostics. I agreed to go because he said it was to see a caseworker. It wasn't. I spoke to Miss Holloway and Mrs. Watson, who asked me demographic questions, family questions, and questions about my past. Watson was rude, short, and obstinate and demanded I answer with a yes or a no, even after I explained my memory loss. Holloway said she was going to tell me the rules and regulations of the prison, but she did not. Someone took my fingerprints too. I told all of them that I was being held illegally, been kidnapped, held for ransom due to activism. 3/4 of them seemed sympathetic and agreed it was wrong. Grantham took me back to Block 1112, cell 1206. I gave Grantham a list of things I need help with, from CO number 1 being call McNally. He forgot to pass it on until after lunch. He gave it to CO Vincent. Vincent also filled out a chaplain form for me to speak with a chaplain. Wednesday, October 14th. Townsend spoke with me in the afternoon and said he'd recommend discharge from mental health. He said it could take until Friday for it to go through. He agreed the cells here are terrible for a human's mental health. He didn't know how much human contact a person needs a day to stay healthy. Ate dinner and put in a canteen request for 5 stamps with Anthony. It came back empty due to no funds on my account. I put in a chaplain request with Vincent, but no chaplain came. I gave a short letter to Vincent to mail, but he said I needed stamps and could buy them from canteen if I have money, or after 30 days they'll give me indigent stamps. Vincent said he passed on my message to Nina in a card and added it either to my caseworker of chaplain request. The night nurse wanted to give me statin drug again. I declined because still haven't talked to a doctor about it yet. Thursday, October 15th around 12:45 p.m. Ate breakfast and lunch. Still not a vegan diet. Took shower in the M8. No clean clothes. C.O. Flores took me to and from shower. He didn't give me a towel until afterwards after I stood cold and naked for 5-10 minutes asking for one. I think Flores replaced Vincent after a nurse and Vincent had words. Flores antagonized neighbor in 1205, and when 1205 a man named Moo complained to the same nurse who had words with Vincent, Flores ran up and yelled at his to scare Moo. Nurse later asked Moo to not file a grievance against Flores because she didn't want Vincent back. I asked nurse to talk with McNally and med doctor. Nurse said doctor was here in the M and wouldn't be back to talk with me about cholesterol med. She said she'd call McNally to let her know I need to speak with her. I haven't spoken with McNally since 9 Monday when I gave her a code word for Nina to know she was talking with me. McNally said she'd be back in 1 to 2 hours, and I gave her 2 pages of note to pass on to Nina and a verbal message to get me out that day. I haven't spoken to Yenkelin's social worker since Monday afternoon. My ability to talk with Nina and the outside world has been limited to what I manage in the spirit realm. The nurse hasn't returned to tell me if she contacted McNally or not. I don't know if the card Vincent filled out will make it to Nina via mail or not. My neighbor in 1207, Pup, is Sean Royster Prison #15973 and has been here in this hell isolation for 34 days. He's not on quarantine, nor is he in mental health care. He was supposed to be given indigent stamps from the canteen. Maybe I can use his. Friday, October 16th. Hopefully Nina doesn't leave me in here another weekend. Yesterday after dinner, guards came and finally moved Pup after him being here for 34 days. Me and Moo were happy for him. They said he was going to 2 block. Pup had me write down our address and phone number. I added the message to bail me out as I'm not safe here. I slid the note under the door, and Pup got it and said goodbye to me and Moo. Though we were happy for Pup, Moo and I were also sad that we were losing a friend and a good person to talk with. It's after lunch, and still no McNally. I can only hope that the card Vincent sent out, or Pup, can get a letter or a phone call out to reach Nina. It seems every person I build enough rapport with, and they agree to send a message to Nina for me, disappears. First McNally, then Vincent, and now Pup. I did finally get a toothbrush Wednesday night and brushed so hard with just water I could taste the blood from my gums. Still no toothpaste, deodorant, hat, or pillow. Townsend came by last night Thursday after Pup left and told me they discharged me out of mental health and that he would push to have me moved off this block. He gave me more paper even though he lied Wednesday by telling me he'd get me more paper before leaving. Wednesday night, Townsend said he would try to put an order in to have my hat returned to me. This morning I heard Yenkelin and maybe Dr. Stroll outside 1207 Pup's old cell. They were trying to get the new guy to talk to them. When I heard them finish, I called out for Yenkalun, but she didn't come. 10 seconds later a co came by. I can hear their keys and I asked him to get Yenkalun to come over. She didn't. I asked Co this morning to fill out a case manager and a chaplain request form for me. He came back and said he did the chaplain form. Another Co said case manager is supposed to be here today. Cell light on over an hour this morning.
Okay, so here is an example of what Mike used in order to be able to take notes and write things down while he was in prison. They took away all of his assistive technology, so he wasn't able to take notes as he normally would, and had to come up with some sort of system to be able to document what was happening to him and around him. So he took a piece of paper and folded it twice, so that this is going to be one of our bumpers. And we're going to fold this around the edges of the paper we're going to write on. So folded that long ways twice. And then same thing with another sheet of paper. All right, so these are going to be our bumpers. So we're going to fold them onto our paper we're going to write on. Wrap around the edges here. And then line up the top if we can. That's going to be our top edge. And then this other one is going to be our bottom edge. And we leave a space in between to write. Hold that down nice and firm. Okay. And then grab our pen and we write. Okay. Now, to go to the next line, we slide the top one down to touch the bottom, like that. And move the bottom one down just a bit so that we can write with inside here. Right here. All right. Now, if I'm finished writing and I want to walk away, this probably isn't going to stay perfectly lined up if I bump it or move it or pick it up. So the last thing on here is going to be pushed in extra hard. So hopefully when he would come back, he'd be able to find that indentation. Otherwise, just fill up to the end of the page or start a whole new page, but he was limited on the amount of paper. So that's the system he came up with. He couldn't reread it, keep that in mind. So as he was writing, he wasn't able to go back and refresh his memory on what he was writing or review the previous day, and didn't even know if anyone would ever read what he was writing. So there you go.